Hello, college football junkies. Big D is back as we start off championship week with an episode. I want to bring in David from on assignment. Please subscribe, like, and share the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page where we talk about everything. So check out the Big D podcast for your audio listeners, Spotify and Apple. So joining us from Denver, the only guy who's going to see Jameis Winston and Bo Nix play, Penn State and Oregon, and then Bengals Cowboys within 8 days. David Moulton. So, David, what's the temperature outside your hotel room right now?
Well, when we're recording, it's late morning, so it's in the upper 20s.
But thankfully, no snow.
Correct. Unlike Buffalo and what hit the Great Lakes region over the weekend, that's for sure.
Yeah. David's part of the Monday night crew doing Browns, Broncos, and then part of CBS's Big Ten Championship crew with Penn State and Oregon. Before we talk about that, I think we should spend a minute or two talking what the heck happened with the game between Michigan and Ohio State. I mean, Ryan Day is now 0-4 in his
Well,
last four big games.
yes,
Wow.
1-4 overall, but 0-4 in his last four. And remember, Ohio State had won 8 in a row before now losing 4 in a row. It very simply, they lost at the line of scrimmage. Michigan has 2 first-round picks at defensive tackle, and Ohio State couldn't block them. So they couldn't run the ball. And they probably spent too much time trying to run the ball. They probably need to spread Michigan out and just throw the ball more. And it was cold. And Chip Kelly is very much a balanced offensive coordinator. He does not abandon the run. They probably needed to abandon the run sooner in the game. And clearly, field goal kicker missing 2 kicks. Will Howard, 2 interceptions, 1 in the red zone, 1 gets returned for a damn near pick 6. Quarterback didn't play well. Offensive line got whooped. But to me, the biggest surprise, D, was, Michigan's offensive line had been pretty suspect this year. This was not the last 3 years' offensive line. 2 years ago, they won the Joe Moore Award as the best O-line in the country. Those guys are all playing on Sundays in some way, shape, or form. And they ran the ball down Ohio State's throat with no threat of a passing game to the tune of 177 yards. And that, to me, was something I did not expect at all. Also, Michigan was down one of their top two tailbacks, and Michigan was down their biggest receiving threat. Loveland didn't play. So if you had told me going into the game, Michigan's going to win, I would have described probably the only way they could have, which ended up playing out. But then if you had said to me, hold on, before you describe it, they're going to throw the ball for 62 yards and they're going to throw 2 interceptions, I would have said, well, then obviously they're going to lose. So this is an epic win. Epic. They'll talk about it for 50 years. And a 21-point dog, biggest dog, I guess, in series history. And D, I said it on the show this morning that to me, it kind of feels like John Calipari near the end at Kentucky. That when he lost to Oakland in the tournament, we didn't know how quickly the end was going to come, but we knew that his reign at Kentucky was over. And it turned out he just needed Arkansas to appear about 3 weeks later, and he left. And I kind of feel the same way, D. It's over for Ryan Day in Columbus. We just don't know when.
Yeah, and also Will Johnson was out for Michigan, so you take away a top 10 corner and makes it Ohio State's offense should have had a field day against Michigan's secondary.
Well, I don't know about a field day, but they should have done more than they did. I mean, they have NFL wide receivers, and part of that's on Chip. Part of it's on Will Howard. Howard took a big hit early in the game, and I wonder if it affected him the rest of the game because he clearly wasn't good enough.
Do you think Will Howard might have been concussed with that one hit that knocked him a little loopy?
Yeah, I mean, he missed a couple plays. Who knows? But he was not good, and Ohio State should have been able to overcome it. But it's funny when a team's strengths match up perfectly with another team's biggest question mark. And Ohio State had issues on the offensive line at center and at left tackle. And it maybe didn't rear its ugly head against other teams, but Michigan's got 2 top 15 picks at defensive tackle, and it reared its ugly head.
I'm beginning to wonder if Ryan Day is going to be. I'm beginning to wonder if Ryan Day is going to become like Mark Richt at Georgia, because Mark Richt could recruit, he could win games, but he could never win the big game. Is that who Ryan Day is becoming?
Well, in Ryan Day's case, he can't win the game. He's taken them to a national championship game. He's taken them to a national semifinal. But ask John Cooper, you have to win the game. Period. You can't lose it as a 3-touchdown favorite also at home. I mean, you just can't. And you can't justify it. You just can't. So, I mean, if you were to, and they're going to make the playoff, although I think they lost a home playoff game out of the deal. I have a feeling they're going to end up as like the 9 or the 10 seed now.
Yeah, 9 seed's the one you don't want to be.
Yeah, maybe. But, then again, there aren't many teams more talented than them. I mean, the irony is they could regroup here. They're not going to play a game for 3 weeks. They could regroup and be as dangerous as any team in the tournament. But, if he doesn't make it to the national championship game, they're going to be looking to get rid of him. Now, I have no idea who, the Notre Dame head coach went to Ohio State. So, you start looking at guys. I mean, he's just rattled off 10 wins in a row. What if Marcus Freeman wins a couple playoff games? I just think it's over for Ryan Day unless something dramatic happens. That the reason they're not getting rid of him now is $37 million. The buyout's $37 million, and they don't want to spend it. And I don't blame them. But I just don't think that the powers that be there are going to remember, they stayed with John Cooper for like 15 years. I don't think they do that here.
Ohio State spent $20 million on this roster. What's another $37 million?
Well, but that's part of why they don't want to get rid of them. They're like, listen, to restack the roster, we're going to have to spend $20 million on payroll. So I also have to get rid of a coach for 37. Now next year's team's costing me 60+ million. So I think they're caught. The other thing is, you got to have a guy. It's one thing for you to say, get rid of Moulton. Okay, that's fine. But you got to have somebody to replace Moulton. Okay. And until you have that person, and who is it, D? Seriously. I mean, this is a big man's job here. It's a big job. Who are you going to give it to?
It's probably the biggest job in college football.
Well, that in Alabama. Yeah. Who are you going to give it to?
Maybe Dan Lanning.
Okay. Yeah. Offer it to Dan Lanning. It'd be interesting if you take it. I mean, he doesn't lack for anything at Oregon. Doesn't lack for facilities. Doesn't lack for money. He's obviously proven he can get players. So if Dan Lanning says no, Marcus Freeman. I mean, seriously, it's a short list here. I mean, is Lane Kiffin even good enough for Ohio State?
Lane Kiffin hasn't won the big game in Oxford.
Well, but then again, I mean, you look at the last 2 hires that really worked out. Excuse me. Obviously, I'm battling a cold. Jim Tressel, who had won big at a lower level, but in Ohio, and then Urban, who obviously had won big and was the son of Ohio, if you will. So, okay, who fits? What did both those guys have in common? Winners, all right, and had been head coaches. So, what was Ryan Day? An assistant who got promoted. You can't even call Luke Fickell up because he's not getting the job done at Wisconsin. So, I mean, I'm just saying, if you're Ohio State, the list is pretty small here. I mean, is Matt Campbell good enough? I think Matt Campbell's a hell of a coach. He has Iowa State in the Big 12 title game. Okay. But are you going to offer the job to Matt Campbell?
Would Salk take the job? No, I don't think he'll leave Texas.
Nope. So, this is a big boy job here. I mean, when you go back 25 years, it was remarkable that the Ohio State job in 1999 2000 came down to Jim Tressel and the Minnesota coach Glenn Mason, I believe at the time. That's who it came down to. Yeah, exactly.